Steve yesterday was going to, let me put this down, to post the picture of the wiring loom being built, the production line, the kind of like prototyping for the production line, because prototype already exists. And I said, no, wait, until it's finished and only then we're going to post it. But then this morning I came in and it's like, you know what, we always been transparent of everything, updates about every small details and everything. It's like, well, why not? So here we go. Now, as usual, there's some delays. Well, actually, not delays. This was kind of known. Before I get to that, so the wiring loom we're doing now, the adapter, it literally plugs into the car. So once you have your Volkswagen engine, either this is 1.8 VR5 or VR6, and that includes the Ignitron ECU. You just plug it in between the two systems, the Toyota system and the Volkswagen system. But obviously, now the quality check, it comes from if it's functional, if it works, pretty simple. So we have to test it as I used to test all the wiring looms I used to make, the hybrid ones, which I used to create from, well, you know the story. So those wiring looms, they used to be laid down on the engine, plugged all the sensors, obviously, well, completely on the engine. Then I had the ECU and this kind of like a power board that simulates the MR2 systems and fire it up. Sorry. Make sure everything is running, make sure everything is good, the engine is firing and running good, and then we plug the diagnostics on to check if all the sensors are good to go. So there is a read for all of them. And once that is done, the wiring was packed and sent to the customers. Now, long pain-ass process. I didn't want to do it because it took me way too long. I don't actually enjoy doing electrics. I do enjoy them if they're done right, like this way. But not if it's just a lot of work, especially when we're actually not charging enough money for it, because financially it was a mistake, but we had to offer it for reasons already explained before, so whatever. Now, to test this one is completely different. To test this one, because it's just an adapter, so you need the whole engine already with the wiring loom. So the big difference is like you don't have to send us, or we don't have to buy Volkswagen wiring looms. And Volkswagen wiring loom consists in two parts. One connects to this side of the ECU, the other side connects to this ECU, this side of the ECU. Now, one side primarily manages the engine, and the other side primarily, but not only, but primarily connects to the car. So it's kind of like a body communication stuff, and to the clocks and all the rest, managing what the ECU does and throttle pedal and everything. So both of them are required. Well, now you have a complete wiring loom, Volkswagen, untouched. I mean, you can modify it. You can actually, with the extrusion of video, which I want to do as soon as the wiring loom is done, a simplified one for everyone. I'm going to show you where you can remove from the standard wiring loom, literally cut it off and put some insulation tape on it. There's actually no power going through what you're going to cut, and you can make it neater and slightly smaller. Remove the stuff you don't actually need. You're not going to ruin it. So, but that's after. Anyways, the topic is that you're gonna leave the whole standard wiring loom, both sides. You have the standard plugs here. These are the plugs that usually they plug into the body on the Volkswagens and Audis and Skodas and all sort of. And then you have the plugs, which I remove them, they two here. These are two body plugs. Again, these are the communication from the Toyota body to the ECU and the engine. Engine wiring loom. Then obviously you have your standard Toyota ECU, which we keep because this still manages some functions on the body, and the body part needs the ECU, some of the inputs to run all the rest correctly on the body side. So we keep both of them. So it's very simple. You literally plug, you use this one. The black plug is not used because that is something that we don't use. Is literally these three plugs, 1, 2, 3 from the body. The blue one is your throttle cable. It goes directly and only to your throttle cable, which we're gonna supply with the throttle adapter. So these three, this big black one, Then other stuff, the other two plugs go to the body. The other two plugs go to the ECU. And there are 3 wires that you connect to your plug. Actually, 2 wires you connect to the plug to interface them with the plug. It's very simple. One of them you connect it to the rest of the wires and actually disconnect it from this ECU. So our adapter overrides what this ECU tells to the wire. And that's it pretty much. Obviously you put your earths, your powers, you know. It's very simple. I'll actually show you here. So the 3 plugs I told you about, this is the simulation. These are the 3 plugs you connect, very simple. This is the plug you connect, the big one, the 14P, you know, the big black one. These are the 3 I just explained you connect to the plug A on your ECU. This is an additional one. This is, you can use it. It's, most people don't use it. This is mostly when you do more of a race application on different ECUs or even a standard ECU, but you want to have EPC light. Because, let me explain, this wiring room works, makes everything work like a factory. So your MR2 works like a factory with the Volkswagen Audi engine. And your engine management light works genuinely. It's not a trick, it's nothing. If that lights up, it means there is an engine code brought up by the Volkswagen ECU and there is something wrong with the sensors. It's diagnostics, like genuinely on the Volkswagen and Toyota. We just combining with the MR2. The only problem so far still is that it only works with the 1.8. VR engines, VR5, VR6, the engine management light is still on. I didn't manage to get it working. I'm still working on it, but the time available I have is very limited. So I get to it at some point, but not yet. So you have to be aware of this. But again, mainly we're doing 1.8, so that's the main reason and most important. So these are 3. Then again, this is the EPC light, which is more sophisticated diagnostics if you want to run it. But again, 99% of people don't run it. So far, only Steve runs it, and anyone else doesn't need it, doesn't have a need. But again, just in case it is there, it's optional. You know, you probably leave it there and don't connect to anything. So yeah, you connect these 3 and this one here to the Volkswagen side. You connect these 2 plugs. This is the plug that we're still missing. Supposed to be arriving today, worst case scenario tomorrow, hopefully. And so these 2 to the body. Then you have OBD. OBD is completely functional, so you can diagnose your engine. Where you have full communication with the ECU, including remapping. So remapping happens everything through this plug. Everything is functional as standard. Then you have earth. You have a positive. Now this is the additional stuff. This is something that you have to lay down inside the engine bay because we override, not override, but we're changing a couple of sensors, we're adding a couple of sensors and there's a mixture of them. So before inside wiring room, the hybrid wiring room, everything was built in, but obviously again that was a pain in the ass, expensive, etc., etc. Now these are separated, so this one here, for example, this says constant 12 volts. So this one goes into your fuse box, which is this one here, inside there. Obviously, in the instructional video, they're going to show exactly where and what. That is a constant positive. So everything happens from there. And it connects like the original Toyota stuff. So that connects there, now obviously the adapter. This one goes to your oil pressure sensor because it's different. And this connects to your coolant sensor. This is, we added. Now the coolant sensor goes, it screws in directly into our cooling system. So a few beads and this just goes in. This is your original Toyota sensor. Very simple. This is your alternator plug because again, alternator now works kind of, is slightly different. Again, the two systems, the Toyota and Volkswagen system, even electrics, they work wildly differently. So, you know, some things we can combine together, some things we have to keep them separated to make both ECUs happy. And this is the crank sensor. We're still using this. This is quite crucial. And on the ECU, obviously, because when you're removing your 1ZZ engine or 2ZZ, there's so many people now removing the 2ZZ engines, and because they say it's just not worth it. So we have tons of customers saying 2ZZ, but I had enough of this. I want to do a different route. Anyways, original engine LAS 100-2ZZ, these two plugs, which is called CND by the Toyota, two last ones on the bottom, this is top of the ECU when you see it mounted in the car. You remove them because these are part of the engine wiring room. You remove all of that, you don't need any of this. Now before, you had to remove it and send it to us. Now you don't have to send anything because we used to salvage a couple of plugs and a couple of wires and all the stuff. Now everything is brand new. The plugs are new. You can see everything is brand new Toyota plugs, brand new Volkswagen plugs if you have to use Volkswagen plugs and everything. Colors changes, but we're gonna see that in the instructional video because it's quite funny. Volkswagen actually uses different colors on the plugs. You can see them. Well, you can see them here. But if you have to buy them as a replacement, Volkswagen only supplies greens and blacks. And they're universal with little modifications inside, so you have to set them up, so it's weird. So yeah, literally you're gonna have the white plug, but you're gonna connect the black plug. The orange plug, you're gonna connect the black plug, and then the brown plug, you're gonna connect the green plug, which is confusing. You know, this you can remember the green goes to the brown, but then two blacks, which one to which plug? Well, you can't get it wrong because obviously we're going to label them, so don't worry. I know it's confusing. Could be confusing if you don't label them, but no, it's fine. Anyway, so these two plugs, again, Toyota plugs, when you remove them, throw them away because we supplied, again, everything with brand new Toyota plugs, including the ECU ones, these two. So it really is quite simple. I try to make it as simple as this is possible, and it costed quite a lot of work. Now, the simpler the system, the simpler the adaptation, the simpler a solution looks like, it means the more work there was into it. Because before, when you burst the stuff together, it's complicated. And it seems this is how it has to work because it's a complicated system. But the more you study this, the more tests you do, the simpler it gets. So, yeah, at the end, it came up with this. This is the simplest, the smallest, reasonable smallest way I can do it. I could make everything even smaller. These plugs closer to these to this. Literally, everything could be handled in one hand. However, like I explained before, for example, this is the 1.8 setup. 1.8 setup is like ECU. This is pretty much, this is slightly higher, or this is actually standard position, you see what I'm talking about. Is in this position. Obviously, we cut the bulkhead just for the illustration purposes. You don't have to do it unless you fit in the VR5 or VR6 engine, but for now we're talking 1.8. So this stays here. Excuse me. You don't have to touch it. So everything goes here. These plugs, you can actually have them behind the bulkhead if you want to, or inside. Is up to you, completely your choice. I like to have this issue here, which I think is fantastic when you have this kind of like a brackets here, which stupidly we removed. You should have to keep them. And just, again, to illustrate it better. But it's very simple. You have these brackets, you show the issue literally behind them, put a zip tie around it. But even without the zip tie, this literally slides in and it's perfectly sitting there. Very good spot. Looks like two of the engineers, they built that for this issue to be there. Obviously, I'm joking. So that's one setup, but if you have a desire to put this issue maybe on this side or move it somewhere around, or you have a race issue which is not going to be this and you're going to have them this here or moving somewhere, or like in this case, if let's say this was a VR5 or VR6 engine, you have to remove the bulkhead and it's not convenient to keep the ECU here, the standard Toyota ECU here, because you still have to keep it no matter what the engine is. You want to remove it. The length of the wires, which is here, allows you to move them freely around with a quite big margin. And I wanted to keep that because I don't want to keep people having, being tied to this is the only option. If you move something, it doesn't reach. It's not a downside to have a little bit more wires, a little bit longer, just keep it there. Even for the OBD pod, I could have them very close here or very close there somewhere. But, slightly longer, you put it wherever pleases you. The earth, honestly, could be coming out from here because there are mounting points close to the ECUs. However, some of them, for some reason, you see, because you're going to see this, it's quite rusty for some reason. And I've seen MR2s, they do it. Then you can use a different point. However, that's not really great. A good earth points are here. on the bottom here when you have these brackets which we remove, but there are a few choices. I'm using one of these, for example, as if I've cleaned it nicely, the paint, I'm using one of these. You can use earth up to this point, so that's why this is slightly longer, because again it gives you option to do it. If you want to get it closer, these wires, they're not simple wires, these are silicone wires. Now the benefits of these wires is that they are very flexible. I mean, there's no way you can do this with a normal wire and it's still nice and intact. So now this is the insulation. The insulation means that they are more heat resistant. They resist to 200 degrees, as you can see. They resist more, but obviously there is a margin of tolerances, but at least 200 degrees. They're much more flexible, so they're less prone to snap inside. So I'm assuming they're going to live for much longer. The normal PVC ones are probably going to live 10, 15, 20 years. I mean, we don't have a problem with that. But if we can have a benefit, let's have it. Also, another thing is that the inside of the wires, let me show you from one of these. I have a 12WG one somewhere here. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Probably not. Let me just remove the insulation from one of them quickly, and I'm gonna show you what I mean. See this, obviously whoever is an expert with electrics, you know, he'd be like, you boring me, but this is for the general public. You see how many wires are here? There's much more of them. This makes this cable to be much more flexible, but also because there's much more of them, there's more, they explain it, there's more capacity, there's more current carrying capacity through these wires. So for example, a normal wire will have to be much bigger than this. Because we're using these silicone wires, we can use them much smaller. However, we're using kind of oversized wires. You see, this is a small wire, the PVC wire is roughly the same size. It means this one, it could be smaller, but we kept them slightly bigger, just to, you know, be on the safe side, even more than we need, just in case, or whatever, just make it safer, whatever it is. I mean, these costs are not really that big of a difference, you know, so yeah, obviously, once you make 100 of them, there is a quite of a cost difference, but we prefer quality, you know, and insurance instead of, you know, costs cutting. So that is one of the very good benefits. Not everyone likes the silicone wires. I don't know why. My brother says sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not as good as people say, but overall they are beneficial. So I had approval for someone who knows much more than me on these, because again, this is not my expertise actually. I do it, but you know, I always say don't really enjoy it that much. What else? Well, I was talking about the wires. So yeah, there you go. And the crimpers, yeah. So we have the crimpers arriving, the new ones, proper ones, and I had the shitty ones, and obviously there was crap. So I couldn't wait for them to arrive. So yeah, I've built my own ones. I modified them. I have good jaws because they're quite precise. They actually work fairly good. But the crimpers, they were shit. So yeah, I've changed them, as you can see. TIG welded, even those are custom, just because I don't want to wait. So yeah, it's quite simple, and it should be ready very soon. Again, we're waiting for these plugs. Then for a couple of pins, because they send us these plugs here, which are these, with they require female pinouts and pins, and we have male pins. So there you go. It happens, and the problem is people don't see it. People see me doing the wiring looms or anything we're doing here, but when we have a delays, obviously it's not an excuse, but people thinking we delay. No, we have delays because we have a lot of companies relying on. We don't make pins, we don't make wires, we don't make the plugs, and this is just electrics. There's like thousands of bits and parts that are needed to combine one of these kits, and we rely on the companies and the suppliers and everything. So one of the suppliers make a delay or make a mistake, we having a delay, and then we have to explain to the customer why is it going to be late. So again, everything is going to be is sorting out better. Now, for example, some of the suppliers when they see that you're not full of shit, they actually ordering and keep ordering and keep ordering more quantities and more quantities. They start taking it a bit more seriously, and they start taking care of you a bit more. So in time, everything kind of improves. Now, for example, when we have a delay, they call us or they send an email like, listen, we don't have this many in stock. I'm gonna try my best. Should be in tomorrow. We're gonna send on Wednesday, for example. Great, I appreciate that. Before it was like completely silence. Whatever they have it in stock, they sell it. Not acceptable. So again, part of the business. But just to explain you, sometimes when we have a delays, honestly, it is not up to us. Sometimes suppliers, they say it's not my fault either because they have their supplies, and you know if the shipment is late, it's late. At the end, you waited. Nothing we can do about it. But again, this is why we're trying to build the stock up. So very beginning of the next year, we have to move, and I don't think we're gonna do everything in time before that because obviously moving the premises is gonna take us at least a month. So, but after that, we're gonna. The plans are very sorry to have a proper stock. So if there is any delays with our suppliers, we're gonna have enough stock that we don't need it before we run out of it. So the end result is that the customer is gonna have everything in time regardless. Something really bad will have to happen to have some delays. So this is what we're working towards, which is good. So anyways, now what I'm doing now, there's another thing because all the warning and everything was great, spot on, but so far everyone used to do their own wiring, or let's go this way, the power wires, it's two cables really, it's not really wiring, is to connect the alternator to the battery and connect the starter motor to the battery as the big parts. And everyone needs to do it on their own because it's quite simple, no one moans about it. A few people ask, we say no, we don't do it because it's too simple to do it, and I mean you can do it yourself and it's fine. But then Steve yesterday pointed out, I was like, well, why don't you make them? So yeah, fuck it, why not? We're still gonna use the silicone wires, so slightly bit more flexible, resisting to more heat because again it's laid next to the engine. Not that the PVC wires, they're not resisting the heat, they do, but again silicone is slightly better. We have new technologies, why not to use them? So we're gonna make one which is gonna be, thing is going to be from the alternator to the starter motor, from the starter motor to the fuse box. Again, it's going to be available from us, very cheap add-on, you know, but if you want it, just get that one as well. It makes everything probably slightly easier because this is going to be the right length. Because when you adapt to something, obviously you can use the Volkswagen one, but it may be a little bit too short or a little bit too long, so it doesn't have the route you want it to do. And if I'm going to do it, I'm going to study the exact route, you know, to make it absolutely perfect for this engine, for this position of the starter motor and alternator to that position of the fuse junction box. So yeah, that's another thing. I'm gonna do it today because also once the wiring, I was explaining before, because again me rambling and drifting off the topic all the time. The wiring loom you see on this engine, this is not the one we're using. This is the old one. You can see the plugs are different, this is not a big problem because we changed the sensor. But this is widely diff. This is one of the very early versions of the wiring looms, and no one uses them. So I'm not going to use this either. We ordered new wiring loom, well, not new, second hand, but for this engine, and it is pretty much 90% of what you're going to use. And we have to put it on this engine here. Then that wiring loom is going to go here. We're going to test it, make sure everything is all right, because again, I know it's all right, but you matter, double check everything twice. That's my idea. Is like, have you double check it? Yes. Okay, do it twice. And then everything is obviously going out of the production line as soon as the rest of the bits arrive, which again, I'm expecting to be today, tomorrow. So no, not really delays. It's just a couple of hiccups. I didn't notice this wiring loom was old. Out of laziness, to be honest, I didn't check. I thought it was the one. So yeah, waiting for that one as well. And yeah, that's it. Everything is going forward as promised. Obviously, this causes, there's no delays with the wiring loom, with the prototyping and everything. And but there's a delay with the rest of the stuff because I'm doing this. I can't do that. However, the rod ends for my arms arrived, because they patiently waiting here. You can see they're all being welded up. Yeah, and now waiting for the rod ends. These parts, because we ran out of them, they just arrived, so I can finish to assemble these. There's 2 guys in America waiting for subframes and full setup, subframes and arms. So the moment that is done, once I've finished the winding loom, I'm gonna be cracking on finishing those subframes. I'm gonna send them to you guys. So be more patient, please. Everything is there. We never ever let anyone down. Not a single customer. So you know, sometimes could be delays, as it is too much work, but we don't let you down no matter what. Anyways, yeah, have a good, what's day? Tuesday. Have a good Tuesday. Have fun.